The Porsche Macan was one of the first SUVs to show that this kind of car can genuinely be fun to drive. And since its launch in 2014, it's been a massive sales success for Porsche. In fact, it's become its best-selling car. Not the 911, not the Cayman, the Macan. The manufacturers announced that the second generation model is going to switch to electric-only power when it's launched in 2021, which is an incredibly bold move. And on its march towards electrification, the first generation model has just been given a facelift, dropping its diesel option and getting tweaked inside and out to freshen it up. So, is it still the handling benchmark for SUVs? And what's it like to live with? Keep watching to find out. But before we get started, please make sure you're subscribed to our channel because we're going to be doing lots more videos like this in the future. And remember, if you want to buy a new car, then What Car is the place for that. So on whatcar.com, go to the new car buying section, and there you can browse through our list of deals from our trusted dealer network. So the facelift has brought some exterior changes to the Macan, which you might expect, and the most notable of those is the full width LED light bar at the rear of the car. You also get revised suspension, and the couple of engines that you do get have been tweaked. Inside is slightly different too. So the infotainment system's been updated and the instrument cluster is slightly different too. Back to this infotainment system, it's a new 10.9 inch setup, which is far better than the previous Macan's 7-inch unit that you got. So now this infotainment system has a really simple, clear layout of menus. It's super responsive with beautifully crisp and clear graphics, and it's loaded with features. So you get Bluetooth, DAB radio, and sat-nav all as standard. And on top of that, you get an 11-speaker sound system. Apple CarPlay phone mirroring and various online services are also included. But Android Auto, annoyingly for some, is not. Now the layout of the interior does actually feel like a bit of a throwback compared to modern new car interiors. So the reason for that is, if you just look around the gear selector here, there are dozens of buttons, aren't there? And that's something that's quite rare with new cars, especially if you compare it to the more sleek and minimalist, virtually buttonless Panamera and Cayenne in the Porsche range. But here, tons of buttons, which is actually no bad thing because the touch-sensitive buttons that lots of other car interiors get are quite fiddly to use on the move. But here, all the buttons are solidly separated and have a nice, solid action when you do want to press them. There is a real high-quality feel throughout the interior. So nice materials on the dash, these brushed aluminium accents here, even the damping of the switches is very nice, and it all feels premium and worthy of the badge, and also worthy of this price tag too. As for the driving position, well, you do sit noticeably lower than you do in an F-Pace, but really that's up to you whether that's better or worse. However, what isn't particularly great in the Macan is the visibility, because out the front you've got quite thick pillars here, and you've also got pretty thick pillars out the back as well, so that's not brilliant. Something else that is a slight issue with the driving position, you can see down here there's quite a big bulge in the transmission tunnel, and what that does is just push your left leg slightly further in than it might naturally sit, so that can take a little bit of getting used to when you first get into the car. We'd also suggest upgrading the seats, because the standard 8-way electrically adjustable seats don't get adjustable lumbar support. So go for the 14-way electrically adjustable seats for a fairly pricey £1,044, and then you will get adjustable lumbar support and a general higher level of comfort with those. Now, as for storage in the Macan, well, it's okay, but it's not that brilliant. In the central armrest here, you can see if you lift it up, you've got space for a phone, you've got 2 USB ports, but the space itself is fairly shallow and not that big. In front of that, you've got 2 cup holders, and you can see you can actually slide this forwards, which means you can rest your arm a little bit higher up or hide what's underneath the cup holders. And in front of that, you've got another little compartment which is hiding a 12-volt socket, but again, it's pretty small, it's not really that usable, just big enough for your keys really. But then there's no other kind of clever storage spaces under the center console or anything. However, the glove box is a decent size, and the door bins are deep as well. You can't stretch out in the back of the Macan as much as you can in an F-Pace, so you can see long-legged passengers will find their knees brushing up against the driver's seat, certainly. And headroom is okay, but not brilliant, especially with this panoramic sunroof fitted. If you're sat in the middle seat, then you can see here the transmission tunnel is very high and very wide, so you'll have to find room for your feet either side. It is, though, useful that you've got these 2 USB ports, and in the middle, you can pull this down and have 2 cup holders, or very handily, you can pull the entire seat down, which allows easy access to the boot. The rear seats split in a helpfully practical 40-20-40 arrangement, but you can't recline the rear backrests or slide the rear seats backwards and forwards. The Macan's boot isn't the biggest in the class, but it's square shaped, so will easily swallow a couple of big suitcases. The boot floor is flush with the load lip, making loading easy. Useful practical touches include a 12-volt socket in the back and this recessed area with a storage net, which is perfect for smaller bottles. You also get a really good amount of underfloor storage. However, it's worth bearing in mind that if you spec the Space Saver tyre, then that will take up most of the room down there. It's also good that every model gets an electrically powered tailgate. And I will just point out that the Macan has one of the best disguised boot buttons ever, and that's under the rear windscreen wiper at the back. But what about the costs? These are the key things you need to know about buying and owning a Porsche Macan. All Macan models are fairly expensive compared to their rivals, and Porsche doesn't really offer any discounts. Resale values are among the best in class though, and PCP finance deals are very competitive. Servicing and insurance costs are also slightly higher than those of other premium SUVs, and with no diesel in the range, don't expect particularly great fuel economy from any engine. It's worth bearing in mind that despite the difference in performance, there isn't actually much to separate the two available engines for fuel economy. But really, it feels like a bit of a waste just going for the 2-litre engine in this car. It's still a decent sports SUV, but if you go for the 3-litre V6, then it's an incredibly special car, and the extra pace that that engine brings just means that this unlocks an extra level of performance in the car. But CO2 emissions are high, and costly list prices bump up the benefit-in-kind tax payments for company car users. All Macans get 6 airbags, but automatic emergency braking isn't standard. Considering some city cars get this as standard, it's really disappointing that it's just an option on the Macan. But you do get lane departure warning and a system that senses if you've just had an accident but are still moving, so it'll automatically apply the brakes to stop you rolling into another accident. The Macan proved to be one of the most reliable luxury SUVs in our latest reliability survey. It finished above everyone apart from the BMW X5. But Porsche as a brand finished in the lower half of the table. Overall, it was 23rd out of 31 manufacturers. While the Macan's 3-year warranty might look average, it is at least an unlimited mileage policy. You get a fair bit for your money with the Macan, including 18-inch alloy wheels, a powered tailgate, cruise control, part Alcantara seats with 8-way electric adjustment on the driver's side, 3-zone climate control, front and rear parking sensors, power folding door mirrors, and automatic lights and wipers. S-Trim doesn't really bring any extra kit, just sportier styling, different wheels, and that V6 engine under the bonnet. If you do want any extra equipment, you'll have to delve into the very long, very expensive options list. There are 2 engines available in the Macan, and the range starts with a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, which is actually shared with the Volkswagen Golf GTI. That will do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 6.5 seconds. That's if you have the optional Sport Chrono Pack fitted. And for a car that weighs nearly 1900 kilograms, that is pretty impressive. If you want more performance than that, which to be fair, if you're buying a Porsche, you might do, then we're in the Macan S, and it gets a 3-litre V6, and we would definitely recommend upping to this engine because it is much quicker. It'll do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 5.1 seconds, which is quicker than many lighter hot hatches and is very impressive. The engine does its best work at higher revs, but that's no real hardship having to keep it up there because it does sound pretty good there as well. So, it's an impressive engine. If you want even more performance from your Macan, then there's going to be a monster turbo version soon. A quick shifting 7-speed automatic gearbox that Porsche calls PDK is standard and is just about the best companion any performance engine could wish for on the move. Around town though, in stop-start traffic, it can be a little jerky. On its standard springs, the Macan is certainly firmer than the best riding SUVs, like the Audi Q5 on which this car is actually based, but it's also definitely still comfortable enough for everyday use. You can also go for optional adaptive dampers, and if you do, that means you can adjust the stiffness of the suspension, and that just gives the car a better ride and handling balance. However, you can also get fairly expensive air suspension, and that gives you the best riding Macan of the lot. And really, it isolates you from anything jarring, although you are still kind of jiggled around on bumpy British B roads like the ones we're on today. But still, it's the option we'd go for, and it's the best choice in the Macan. But it's handling where the Macan really shines. This car steers with the weight, feel and precision of a sports saloon, and a seriously good one at that. It's incredibly agile and hides its mass really well through the corners, and if you've got the optional air suspension, then it really resists lean very impressively. It's also more entertaining than other sports SUVs like the Audi SQ5 and the admittedly much cheaper Cupra Ateca. The Macan offers brilliant pace, outstanding handling and a plush interior. A Cupra Ateca might be cheaper, but it doesn't feel anywhere near as special and it's not as entertaining either. So the Porsche Macan is the best sports SUV that you can buy. For much more on this car, including our extended written review of this and every other rival on sale, then go to whatcar.com, and remember, while you're there, we can hopefully save you some money on your next new car. So go to the new car buying section to look through our list of deals from our trusted dealer network. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe to our channel because we're going to be doing loads more videos like this in the future. And if you have any questions about the car, then please leave a comment.